Shabbat Shalom. It is incredible that this is the last Shabbat of 5780, and that when we gather in a week, it will be Rosh Hashanah. It is also incredible to me that this is September 11th, and we are gathered here. That shakes us. It is something that is marked very powerfully in memory, and all of us have different memories. A lot of us watched September 11th unfold on TV or hearing on the radio. Some of us might have been in New York or in Washington on those very days and have very different memories. And so here we are, and it's striking to me, it's incredible to me as I think about 19 years, because on September 11th in 2001, Anna was a little baby. She was a mere toddler, a few months old, riding in her car seat, and I had been home with her, and Jill had gone on to school where she was teaching in Cincinnati. And I was watching it unfold. I got in the car with Anna, and we went and I checked in at HUC, and the school was closed. Went down and to check on Jill and brought Anna back. And now Anna is an adult. She's 19 years old, almost 20 years old. She's an RA. She's on patrol because she's now living in Boston, one of the cities where the planes departed from before they went on in those missions of horrible, incredible, destructive violence. So here we are on September 11th. And it's not just September 11th, it's September 11th of 2020. And even as we honor and remember those who died and those who were injured on this day of terror that's in our American history, we're also in the midst of 2020, this awful and horrible year with pandemic, with violence. Now we're watching as there are incredible forest fires out west in California and Oregon and Washington and far beyond, with hundreds of thousands of people evacuated. We heard from Cantor's mother earlier that the skies are pretty black in LA. And also if you saw orange skies in San Francisco and even in Seattle. So we're seeing this brokenness around us. It's a different kind of brokenness. That was one day that just ripped apart the fabric of our country and our world, those smoking holes that we saw at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania. And this has been a drip, drip, drip of lives each day over the course of all of these months, and just news piece after news piece after news piece. And so here we are on this Shabbat, and we look back at this year of 5780, and we're looking forward to the year of 5781, and we're talking about Shana Tova, having a year of goodness and blessing. And how do we find it in the midst of this time? And I offer for you on this Shabbat a lesson from September 11th, 2001 that caught my attention, that it's been a text, it's been something that's been with me, and I pull it out from time to time. And this week it came back in a rush because there was something in the words that I'll share with you in just a moment that just spoke to me about what we are experiencing, the time we are in, and what we need to do to respond to our experience here and now. Right after September 11th, when we were talking about national security, when we were talking about homeland security, when there were all those rules at airports where people were coming into the country where there was no travel, and we knew that the defenses of our country needed to change in order to prevent a future attack like that one. As we were talking about walls going up, Rabbi Arthur Waskow, amazing thinker, theologian, amazing rabbi, brought the phrase of Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, spread over us your sukkah of shalom. It's part of the Hashkivenu, it's part of our prayers for a good night's sleep, that each night when we go to sleep, we say, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, God spread over us your shelter of peace, of quiet and calm. And Rabbi Waskow, as he was watching our world and our response to September 11th, he said, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, God, we need that blanket of protection, yes. He was thinking of that sense of shalom, of wholeness, harmony, and place where we feel protected and we can move without fear. And yet he also said in that moment, we have to be careful with our walls. He said, we need to remember it's ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, a sukkah of peace. Sukkot are different than walls. They're different than buildings because Sukkot have holes in the sides and in the ceiling. They are porous. They are open. Like Abraham's tent, where he had opened it so he could see the guests all around him and reach out and call out and take care of the world. Rabbi Waskow said that that was our challenge of September 11th, even as we look for ways to protect ourselves and preserve our country and stop that kind of senseless hatred from coming into our midst. We also need to find ways of opening up the sukkah. That the way to build part of the resilience and part of the protection was having the walls open so we could reach out and connect with neighbors and bond with our neighbors and build bridges and call out one to the other to help each other, building communities, creating those villages of comfort and community. That was his call in the midst of September 11th. And it's not perfect, and it's not the only way, but it was something powerful. Every time I see it, every time I hear it, especially on this day of September 11th, I remembered that statement because even as we look to protect ourselves, we have to find ways of being open into the world, that if we shut down and turtle completely, if we go like Jonah, we end up like Jonah in the whale, Noah in his ark. If we shut down too completely, then we are losing out on beauty and the miracle and the energy of creation. That's what we need to sustain ourselves. That sense of community and kehillah and connection that as humans we so desperately need. That is part of my message for September 11th. Here we are 19 years later, and we've got to keep that vision of the world alive. And yet, here we are 19 years later, and we have a whole different world. We have a whole new challenge, Surus, in front of us. And we're raising different kinds of walls and different kinds of boundaries and different kinds of protection. Not to shut people out, but to protect us from the virus. It's kind of ubiquitous in our day and age. That here I am in my sanctuary, in our sanctuary, talking to a camera, but y'all are out there throughout the internet watching from home, from where you are with your family surrounding you. I have in my hand a mask. I can't shake hands. I can't give people hugs. As soon as I'm near people, I have to go and wash my hands or use sanitizer. When I step out of my office, I have to put on a mask, hiding a huge part of my face because that protects you also. I'm not sharing my germs with you, and I see all of you wearing masks to protect to hold your germs. So we protect each other. It's a strange time. I will tell you. I've walked through stores, and some of you have walked by me, and you didn't even realize you've known me for almost 20 years, 18 years to be precise. You walk past me in a store, not even realizing it's me because my face is covered. That is a whole different kind of walls. With Arthur Waskow, I envision Ufros aleinu sukat, that the walls are coming down from the top to shield us from the stuff that comes from the sky. Here, we keep building these walls and these barriers. I was talking to my dad about high holidays, and his question to me last night is, are you going to have a plexiglass barrier between Cantor and you so you can be safe on high holidays? That's a crazy question. We're going to be 10, 20 feet apart from each other, which, by the way, will be the first time we've led services in a room together since March. And yet we're still wondering if we need to have more plexiglass. We're going to be on separate podiums and separate cameras and separate microphones and all of this. We get pulled further and further and further apart. I felt that in my gut, wondering how far do we keep getting pulled apart before it starts to affect us and damage us and weaken us tremendously. Something I know I'm not alone in saying. Lots of people have been saying it and feeling about it and talking about it. And so what is, in this situation, in this day and age, when we have these barriers between us, are we going to do to not just ufros aleinu sukkah shlemecha, raise those barriers of protection, but what are we going to do to make it a sukkah, to make it open so that there are cracks, so that there are seams, so that there are spaces to let our energy out, to be able to take the energy in? And the answer is simple and also not simple and not always easy to do. But I experienced it this afternoon as I was thinking about this sermon, and then I experienced it and I said that it really is true. After I picked up my son from school today, he said, "Dad, I'm hungry." That's what teenagers say. "Can you take me for a snack?" So I took him out and we went through a drive-through and we're getting our food, and I'm wearing a mask and the person giving us the food is wearing a mask and she's got gloves on. And I just remember that moment as I was getting ready to drive away. She's handing me the food and I said, "Thank you." And the smile in her voice when she said, "You're welcome," warmed my heart. In this day and age, as we raise these barriers, we are going to have to find ways of poking those holes, of finding the seams, of getting our energy out. It means with intent, with mindfulness, consciously acting, making sure that when we see people, we smile with our eyes, that we are intent with our greetings to each other, that we find ways with grace, whether it's opening doors for someone, whether it's making space for someone, that we don't just say, "Oh, you're a human being, stay away from me and keep the virus away," but we say, "We are humans, we have to be separate, but I see you as a human being." We have to find ways to extend our energy, our love, our kindness, the best of our humanity, so that even with these barriers, even with this physical separation, we can energize and lift people in this moment. It is such a strange and powerful paradox of ufros aleinu, because we talk about this shelter of peace that we're supposed to create. And yet, this Shabbat, on this September 11th, when we remember that moment of brokenness and we experience this brokenness of our day and age, let us find cracks and spaces. Let us take advantage of those seams and those holes. Let us consciously, mindfully, and with intent, let our chen, our grace, our chesed, our loving kindness, and our rachamim, our compassion, out. Let us find ways of bringing that same from others back and forth, because that's what we need. That's what we need to heal, and that's what we need to build the community that will sustain humanity and let all of our light and love shine through. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.